The ram never touched her. I need to say that first because it is the strangest and most important thing about this one, and it is the thing nobody believes until I explain it. The animal that killed her never made contact. It did not gore her, it did not trample her, it did not so much as brush against her. It lowered its head, and it took 2 steps, and she did the rest herself. That is the twist in this story, and it is the reason I am telling it, because it is a kind of death that does not fit the picture people carry in their heads. Everybody imagines the horns. Everybody imagines a wild ram driving those enormous curled horns into a person, because that is what those horns are famously for. But that is not what happened here, and the fact that it is not what happened is the whole lesson. The ram did not need to reach her. It only needed to make her move, and there was somewhere 3 feet away that she could not afford to move. Welcome back to Doomed Departures. What you are about to hear is a composite story. It is built from real animal behavior, real terrain, and the real and specific way this canyon kills people who are watching the wrong danger. But the woman at the center of it is an invention, assembled from every visitor I have watched fall in love with an animal at exactly the wrong altitude. No real person is named here. She is a dramatization. The ram was a dramatization. The 2 dangers that combine to kill her are not, and the reason she died is that she was tracking one of them very carefully and had completely forgotten the other. And the animal's entire role in this, its only role, was to introduce the 2 of them to each other. This is Zion in southern Utah, and I need you to picture the specific kind of place this happened because the place is not scenery here. The place is the murder weapon. Zion is a canyon of red and cream sandstone, and a lot of its most beautiful trails are not walks in a meadow. They are ledges. Slickrock benches and narrow shelves cut into the side of enormous walls, with 1,000 feet of open air a step or 2 away, and the exposure is part of why people come, that feeling of standing on the edge of something vast. It is genuinely one of the most beautiful places in this country, and the beauty and the drop are the same rock. The view she wanted and the fall that killed her were separated by about a yard of sandstone, and she spent her last minutes with her back to one of them. She was in her 20s in a yellow top, and she was up on one of those benches when the ram came along it. And I want to be fair to her about the animal because the bighorn is a genuinely magnificent thing and it does not look like a threat. And her mistake was a mistake that a good and gentle person makes. A bighorn ram is a big animal, 200 pounds and more, but it does not look like a predator because it is not one. It has soft eyes, and it moves with this incredible, sure-footed calm across ground that would terrify you, and it does not snarl or bare teeth or do any of the things a human brain is wired to read as danger. And that sure-footedness is its own quiet part of the trap, because it tells a person the wrong thing. When you watch a bighorn stroll a ledge that would have you on your hands and knees, some part of you concludes that the ledge must not be that bad. That if the animal is so relaxed up here, then the exposure must be exaggerated, that the danger you feel is just your flatland nerves. It is a reasonable thing to conclude, and it is completely wrong. The ram is calm on that ledge because it has cloven hooves with soft, grippy pads and a low center of gravity, and a lifetime of practice and a brain that has never once considered posing for a photograph. Its calm is not evidence that the place is safe. Its calm is evidence that it is a bighorn and you are not. Borrowing an animal's confidence about terrain it was built for is one of the oldest ways people get hurt in the mountains, and she borrowed it completely because the ram looked so at ease that being near, it felt like being somewhere gentle. It looks, to a person raised on cartoons and petting zoos, like something out of a storybook, something you could walk up to, something that, and I am quoting her now, quoting the thing she said to the camera, wanted to play, he wants to play. That was her read on the situation. That was the caption forming in her head. And she started toward it, reaching, laughing, phone up, and I was down the trail, Too far, already moving, already knowing, because I have seen the beginning of this exact sequence more times than I can stand, and I know how it ends, and I could not get there in time. That is in the title, and it is the plain truth. The Rangers could not reach her, not because we did not try. Because a ledge is a ledge, and I was 100 yards of narrow shelf away, and 100 yards on that terrain is not a sprint, it is a careful walk. And careful loses every race against a wild animal that has already made up its mind. I have thought a great deal about those 100 yards because they are the specific hell of this job that nobody warns you about. It is not the deaths you arrive too late for. It is the ones you watch coming. I could see all of it from where I was. I could see the ram, I could see her reaching, I could see the edge behind her heels that she could not see, and I could see the geometry of the whole thing lining up. And I was moving as fast as a person can move on a shelf that will kill you too if you hurry it, which is not fast, and there is a very particular kind of helplessness in being close enough to understand exactly what is about to happen, and too far to change one single part of it. I did the only thing distance left me, which was to shout, and shouting is what you do when your legs have run out of usefulness, and shouting, it turns out, is no match for a fairy tale. She had already decided the animal was friendly. My voice was just weather. Let me plant the things I would have told her if I had been close enough, because they are the things that would have saved her. And they are the things I need you to have before you ever stand on a ledge with an animal. First, a bighorn ram is a territorial animal, and it defends its space, and the way it defends its space is by charging. That is what the horns and the whole architecture of the animal are built around, the charge, the head-on collision. During certain seasons, they will slam into each other at speeds that would kill a person, skull to skull, for dominance, and their entire skeleton is engineered to deliver and survive that impact. A ram that feels crowded does not run away like a deer. It squares up, it faces the thing crowding it, and it warns it, and if the warning does not work, it drives forward. That is not aggression in the way we mean it. It is arithmetic. You are in its space, and it has one tool for that. Second, and this is the one that matters most on a ledge, a ram will often faint. It will lower its head and start the charge and stop. A bluff, a warning shot, a way of saying, I could do this, back off, without actually committing to the collision. In an open meadow, a feint is a gift. It is the animal giving you a free chance to leave. But a feint does not care where you are standing. A feint is designed to make you flinch, to make you give ground, to make you take one fast, instinctive step backward, and that reflex, that hardwired human jump back, is one of the most reliable reflexes we have. And it fires before you can think, and it is precisely the wrong thing to do when the ground 3 feet behind you ends. That is the whole mechanism. The ram does not have to hit her. It only has to make her flinch, and her own nervous system, doing the thing it has done to keep primates safe for 1,000,000 years, does the rest. Because stepping back from a threat is almost always the right move, and this was the one time in her life it was fatal. I want to sit on that reflex for a second because it is the hinge of the entire story, and most people do not know they cannot control it. When something rushes at your face, you do not decide to move. There is a pathway in you, older than thought, that takes the signal straight from your eyes to your muscles and moves you before the thinking part of your brain has even been told there is a problem. It is why you blink at a thrown object you know is fake. It is why you jerk your hand off a stove you knew was hot. That reflex has saved more human lives than any ranger ever will, and it is not available for override, and it does not consult a map. It moves you away from the thing in front of you, and it does not cannot check what is behind you first, because for 1,000,000 years, the answer to what is behind you was ground. Just ground. The reflex is calibrated for a world where backward is always safe. She was standing in the one kind of place where backward is the one direction that is not, and no amount of knowing that would have stopped the jump, because the jump does not wait for knowing. So really, there were two dangers on that ledge, and they were never the same size in her mind. The ram was loud and close and thrilling, and it had her whole attention. The drop was silent and behind her, and it had none. And the terrible economy of it is that the loud danger was almost harmless and the silent one was certain. The ram was a warning, the edge was the weapon, and the ram's only job, its entire contribution to her death, was to be startling enough for half a second to hand her to the thing she had stopped watching. She did not know any of that. She saw an animal she thought was friendly, and she read its calm as an invitation and its size as gentleness, and she moved into the space that, to the ram, was a challenge. And the ram did what a crowded ram does. It stopped looking calm. It turned and squared up and faced her, and it lowered its head, and every signal it was sending was the animal being as clear as an animal can be, which is to say, leave. Now, I am warning you. Let me stop and ask you something, because this one is about a mistake I think all of us are built to make. When was the last time you were so focused on one risk that you walked straight into a different one? Watching the car in front of you and drifting out of your lane, managing the crisis at work and neglecting the person at home, fixed so hard on the thing in front of you that you forgot what was behind you. Tell me in the comments, because that is the exact shape of what happened here. She was not being careless. She was giving something her complete attention. She was just giving it to the animal when the thing that was actually going to kill her was the quiet, patient, unmoving drop she had put at her back and stopped thinking about the moment the ram appeared. Here is the refusal ladder, and it is short because she had less time than most and she spent it arguing. I got close enough to call out, and I did. The first thing, the distance. Give it room. Back away from it. Do not approach. And she waved it off, delighted, and said he was friendly. Look at him. So I called the second thing, the real thing, the thing specific to where she was, which is that I could see what she could not, which was the drop directly behind her heels. I called the edge. I told her to watch the edge, to come toward me, toward the wall side, away from the exposure. And she half turned and smiled and said the sentence that is the whole episode, the sentence that had her attention on entirely the wrong danger. She said, he wants to play. And the ram lowered its head and drove forward. It was a feint. I am nearly certain it was a feint, that the animal never intended the collision, that it was doing the thing rams do, the warning charge, the bluff meant to move her back and reclaim its space. In a meadow, it would have worked perfectly, and she would have jumped back and been embarrassed and been fine, and it would be a funny story. But she was not in a meadow. She was on a bench of slickrock with 1,000 feet of Zion behind her, and when 200 pounds of muscle and bone dropped its head and came at her, she did the only thing a human body does, the ancient thing, the thing you cannot train out of yourself in the half second it takes, which is that she flinched and she stepped back hard away from the animal, and there was nothing there. I am not going to describe it. I am not going to take you over the edge with her because she was a person and this channel has a line it does not cross. And because you already understand it completely, and the understanding is the only part that can help anyone. She stepped back from a danger she could see onto nothing because there was another danger she had forgotten, and the two of them met in the space of one reflex. The ram stopped at the edge, the way they do because a bighorn knows exactly where the ground ends. Its whole life is spent knowing that. It never went over. It was never in any danger at all. Only she was, because she was the only one on that ledge who had misjudged where the safe world stopped. Now here is the part that makes this different from the bear and the elk and the gator, and I want to be careful with it because it matters. There was no second victim here. The ram lived. The ram did nothing wrong, and crucially, the ram did nothing we had to answer for because it was never fed, never conditioned, never taught anything about people. It did not have to be destroyed because it had not been ruined, because it had not learned that humans mean food or safety or anything at all. It simply defended its space on its own cliff exactly as it was built to, and then it walked away across ground that no human could follow, and it is still up there, as far as anyone knows, being a bighorn. The animal is not the tragedy in this one. The animal is almost innocent. It contributed a single lowered head, and the terrain and her own nervous system did everything else. If this one showed you something, then do the small thing that carries it to the next person about to walk toward a beautiful animal in a dangerous place. Like this video so it reaches somebody standing on a ledge instead of scrolling past it later. Subscribe so you are here for the next one. Not for me, and not for a number on a screen. Do it so that one more person, somewhere, sees a wild animal on an exposed trail, and before they take a single step toward it, turns around and looks at what is behind them, because that, and not the animal, is usually the thing that is actually going to hurt them. Here is the whole of it, and it is a strange one, because the villain of this story is a misread word, play. She looked at a 200-pound territorial animal squaring up to warn her off its cliff, and she called it playing. And everything that happened next flowed out of that one wrong word. Because if she had read it correctly, if she had seen a threat instead of a playmate, she would have done the sensible thing, which is to give it space and move away. And moving away on that ledge meant moving toward the wall, toward me, toward safety. The correct read would have walked her to the safe side. The wrong read kept her frozen at the edge, delighted, until the animal made the decision for her. She was not killed by the ram, and she was not really killed by the fall. She was killed by a caption. She looked at danger and labeled it charm, and the label put her feet in the one place on that whole beautiful mountain she could not afford to stand. He wants to play. He did not want to play. Wild animals do not play with us. Not once, not ever. And every time a human being decides that one does, they are not describing the animal. They are describing a story they are telling themselves. And the animal has not read the story and does not care about the story and is running on 200,000 years of its own instructions that have nothing to do with our delight. She wrote a children's book in her head and stepped backward into a canyon. The ram was never a character in her story. It was just an animal on its ledge, defending the small square of the world it was standing on, and she walked into that square holding a phone and a fairy tale. And the fairy tale is the thing that went over the edge with her. The animal is still up there. The photo is on a phone at the bottom of a canyon. The only thing that fell was the person who could not tell the difference between a warning and an invitation. Next time, we leave the animals behind for good and go to the cold water, where there is no creature to misread, no charge, no feint, nothing that wants anything from you at all. And the river takes the strongest person on the boat anyway, for no reason but the water being water. Until then, when you are somewhere high and beautiful and a wild animal comes close and every part of you softens and wants to reach toward it, do one thing first. Look behind you. Find out what your body will step back into if that animal moves, because it might move, and you will step back. That part is not up to you. The only part that is up to you is what is waiting there when you do, and the time to check it is before, always before, while looking is still free. This has been Doomed Departures. Stay safe, and we will see you on the next one.